This is about a story that is 3 years worth of time to tell, so I'm going to do the best I can to shorten out the best I can and make it to a story, as it will be a book in the future. But in order to tell any California or Colorado stories or most 2019 that matter, we got to get really high, like California. Alright, so now that I'm Rocky Mountain High, let's get on with the story. Now, there is so much of the story that I have. I'm trying to get all of it out, but I'm not able to get it out quick enough. So it's going to be really hard to tell the story, and my emotions do get the best of me when telling this. And it's crazy how this has all been 5 years now. And it's mind blowing. It feels like a totally different generation compared to how the world is now. Like, I don't fucking get it. Like, 5 years ago, I was living the dream, traveling to San Diego across the country, have my first apartment there, doing a job that I loved while working hard and smart. And now it's all gone. I went to living in my car in Boston a year ago. Like, this is not the American dream at all. So to get on with it, after taking the leap of faith, I went to Iowa to see a family member as a pit stop, and then I went to Denver the day before 420. So I got there at 420. I was taking walks in the city. I was on the phone with my uncle. I've taken pictures and sightseeing. And on the phone call, I see a woman in a red dress walking out from the crowd. And I told my uncle I got to call him back and approach this woman. It was after reading the guy's book in The Mentor in LA, who was a real dick when I met him in real life. There was a chapter in the book where he said people are able to get at the women or this and that because they're confident. And that was the same approach that I did. Having confidence. Next thing I know, we were walking the city for hours after hours, just having the time of our lives as we were meant to be, taking monorails and public transportations the other side of the city and not realize it. And when we got to Civic Center, we were just high as shit, smoking pot. And this one picture I have in particular of Civic Center, and I remember the smoke in the air was actually everybody smoking weed at the same time in that area. And I remember even the crosswalk guy was like, who was it doing the crosswalk thing? He was just doing this. And overall, it was like the highest I have ever been in my fucking life. The amount that we both smoked together was about this much, and that was how much we smoked in one fucking day. And that's the most I've ever smoked in my life, even today. So I was high to where I was in space. And so after a little while of knowing each other, we're in the apartment playing guitar with some other guy who claimed he couldn't see. As I was a confidant, I was telling her my future, my goals, and my dreams in San Diego, seeing the ocean all the time, enjoying the weather, and I worked my ass off to get it. I remember having real romantic adventures after that, like scenes in 50 Shades of Grey where we're in the elevator making out as it goes up or down, making out on the top of the balcony, making out on the streets in public. I still remember the pictures that we had of myself on top of the balcony. For some reason, I wasn't able to get pictures of her, even with her body parts in the way. Like, I couldn't figure it out. Like, something in my energy or something outer was like, don't take these pictures. Like, it wasn't letting me or allowing it. Because she wasn't in any of them, not even on the side pictures. But I still remember what she looked like in my head. But I remember after all those adventures, I realized my parking expired at 6 p.m. So I had to get to San Francisco, and I was real happy and excited visiting San Francisco after everything I see and hear about it. And so once I had to leave, I gave her my phone number and my name, and she put it under her bra and was like, I got it right here, secure. And as I was in the state line between Colorado and Utah, I wake up and I see the desert environment, and it was quite an amazing scenery where I see like the wide open spaces with the snow on the mountains at the very far end, and all the wide open spaces getting bigger and bigger and closer the faster you drive to it. Like, the desert is quite a unique place. It's like literally driving on another planet like Mars. I remember there wasn't a single person in our car for as long as 2 hours at a time of driving or longer. It was quite an extraordinary road trip. Especially the one picture I have of Nevada, the day I was driving out of the desert. And so as I got to San Francisco, I was really happy. I was excited, taking walks around the city. And for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, something told me I should have went back, like the moment I left the state of Colorado. Like, at that rest area between the state lines, I felt like I was still seeing Denver at the very end, and that she would still be there. But I really wanted to get to San Diego, so I tried not to think too much of it. I wanted to focus on like moving forward because of my past experiences of how people don't stay with you in the long term. So after I was in San Francisco, I went and saw my family. I went to San Jose seeing middle school friends. That was what a chick who needed a ride home gave me the best handy J. And that was actually what I talked about on my San Diego story, where like after doing a cannon blast when she needed a ride home, she got all over the long sleeve shirt and wiped everything on it. And so it was my third day in San Diego, and I remember I wiped down the side of the rear mirror, and I was at the stoplight and it was still foggy on the sides, and I noticed everybody was laughing at me when they saw what happened, including the gas station attendant. It was some funny shit. So after that, I went to my vacation beach in Morro Bay on the day I was going to see the mentor in Los Angeles who wrote the book that I read. And I felt like getting to Montano de Oro State Park, which is the coastline where all the sunset pictures are taken of that vacation beach. I was about 2.5 hours late of seeing him, so the guy was late on me, and that was why, because I felt like seeing the coast of my vacation beach in California was more important, taking all those pictures. Luckily, the dude was patient and waited for me. But when I saw the guy in reality, he was totally different from his book and all the videos he has on social media, which I've heard isn't too surprising, especially for Los Angeles. You do feel kind of stupid and gullible seeing how they are in real life. So after the orientation introduction I had with him, I remember I was talking about her to him in the parking lot when he signed the book. I still don't know what happened to the picture of the signed autograph of the book, but I still remember it. And I remember on the way to the car, he literally told me that I was getting annoying. And I'm like, for a guy who says that he teaches and cares about his people, even if they latch onto them, this guy sure was a dick. He even talked about that to me on another video interviewing someone else the day before we met. And for him to say that, I was like, yeah, this guy is so charismatic and actually likes to help people. I guess it's because I'm in Los Angeles. I guess I shouldn't take it too personally. And so after I mentioned the Sierra girl to him, he would say, dude, with all the girls in San Diego, you'll forget all about her. And I was like, well, I hope so. You know, I was like, yeah, you're right, dude. With all the chicks here, I'll forget all about her. And so after getting to San Diego, it just felt like big achievements. I actually have a song that just blends in with San Diego. Like, this is basically 2019 in a song. I remember driving in San Diego with the wide open spaces, the curvy mountains, the houses, the Pacific Ocean view and the mountains and all the different scenery every 15 minutes or so, and being on the coast. And at the end of the day, like, I made it kind of feeling like I proved everybody wrong. And this is the best ending to describe that. I was like, I achieved my goals and my success, and I'm in San Diego. And you can just see the wide open spaces, on top of the mountain, seeing downtown. And you see the ocean. And then you're taking a walk like, I did it. Victory is mine, kind of feeling like I proved all those motherfuckers wrong. I sure as hell hope I don't get reported for copyright infringement playing that song, but I'm sorry, it's just really good. For 2005, it was ahead of its time. That was the same song we were also listening to when we walked downtown Denver together. And after I got to San Diego, I was focused on moving forward. So I was hoping maybe within a period of time she might reach out to me, call or text me and stuff like that. And, well, I never heard from her until the Craigslist scam of May of the following year. And then my phone got stolen. I filed a police report and tried calling the phone, but it didn't receive messages. So there was a lot going on my mind when that happened. So I was like, maybe she did try to reach out, but couldn't because of the voicemail not being activated. And so after stacking money with my uncle in Petaluma when I got chewed up and spit out of San Diego from the scam, I was stacking money to pay off my credit cards and stack up another couple thousand to have gas money and hotels to get to Colorado. After the long journey, I was really excited. A few days before I left, I actually recorded this one song, which I'll show right here. The song was Colorado before it was Colorado. It's got like a western song to it where it feels like you're just flying and you're becoming free and flying in the air kind of feeling, or it's something taken off. It was a really beautiful melody to it. And so after the long road trip, I remember shit was getting weird really fast. I remember I got into a car accident on the way before reaching Nevada state line, and a person did a hit and run. And then as I'm in Vegas, while I'm having adventures and party time, getting laid and stuff like that, enjoying the nightlife. And then once that was over, everything that happens there stays there. So I continued on my way to Denver. And this is the part of the chapter where I say I went to Denver and never returned. So to get on with the story of where I talk about that I went to Denver and never returned, I'm going to get on with it because there's so much of the story that has to go on. And this is the part that gets the best of my emotions. So I'm going to go through it as quickly as I can. So after I get to Denver and I see the mountains towards Golden, I can see the metropolitan area with the city lights here and the whole suburban house lights everywhere around me. It just felt like it was so wide and open spaced. And I felt like I was already seeing Denver and I was already seeing Sierra, and I was really happy and I was excited to get there. And I checked into a shitty Super 8 because that was all that was available, as there was a lot of tourists in the Denver area. So morning after that, I had no hesitation, got to Denver, and as I'm walking, I had a little bit of resistance because I was afraid to go there. I was kind of like, I felt stupid driving all this way, going all this way for one person. Other people around me before I went there were saying the same thing, like, it's just a girl, what if she found someone else, what if she moved, what if she's with someone, or what if she wasn't really interested in you, or what if she just had a short-term commitment with you, and all that stuff, basically saying if they really wanted to reach out to you, they would. She never called you, and all these things were just going through. But luckily I did not listen to it, and one of my other uncles said, just go in there and find out what happened. You drove all that way, I mean, come on, don't be a scaredy cat like that. So I did. I went in there, I talked to the security guy who opens the doors. I told him Sierra, and he said he didn't know what I was talking about or anybody knows that lives there. And as I come in there was an old lady in a wheelchair who looked like she had been living there for years. And she was like, who are you talking about? And I said, Sierra. And when I asked who was here, I got this disturbing recording, which is right here. Probably not going to remember this, but can you say it again? What happened to Sierra?
Sierra OD'd on medication, and then they put her in the hospital, and she was brain damaged. So after that, I think her son took her back to wherever he was at. And I hadn't heard anything else with it.
And you said she committed suicide?
She was committing suicide. She OD'd on medication.
Oh,
Everybody
wow.
else's medication, but her own.
That
was not a cool thing to do.
okay.
I felt for her because they were going to kick her out. And instead of them kicking her out, she did that instead.
Okay.
So she's been gone out of here for a while, sweetie.
I gotta go. The moment I heard that, that was when everything went away inside of me. I just felt like I deteriorated and died and had no hope inside. I was just like, okay. And I recorded that because I wanted to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing. Because she actually explained it to me about 3 times before I started recording. And so after that, I'm taking walks around the city, just being devastated and really unhappy and full of sad emotions. At the same time, I was kind of angry because I was at the 16th Mall Street. I'm up top a balcony, and I could see all these couples walk around holding hands, having the time of their life, dining out, hanging out at bars and restaurants, taking walks around the city, some playing music together. And here I am with nobody. I'm like, I'm by myself, and I'm like, the girl that I just had that I came all the way here for is dead. And it was the worst feeling you can imagine. And it makes you angry. It's like, why? It makes you just want to fight and start a riot and homicide because you're just so angry. And I remember when I got to 16th Street Mall, I was playing my bass on the same street, and these two drunk, immature girls were coming up to me doing like the same shit everybody else does. They were like, I'm drunk, haha, my boyfriend sucks, what do I do about it? And I'm just so angry because I get the same fucking shit when it comes to women. And I meet this one who was like the time of my life, and it's gone. And you get two annoying drunk girls who don't want to grow up and bitch to you about their problems all the time. And I was so sick of it. And I said with confidence, well, sweetie, I wouldn't be in your situation because if I didn't like something or someone, I can toss it and go get something else. And then they were going on saying you are cocky and that you're an arrogant asshole. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to say? Like, it's the same goddamn thing with every chick. Oh my god, my boyfriend sucks, or I hate my life, I hate my job, money, I cry about money, I buy materialistic things, I'm like a princess, I play games and I waste your fucking time. And it's just the same old fucking bullshit. And you meet someone like Sarah and she's dead. Like, it makes you fucking angry. And so now that that's out of the way, so after that I was taking walks in Denver. Just I had a feeling something in the back of my mind told me to get to Civic Center because that's where her and I smoked all day every day. I think I went there, or I may have not. There was an event going on. I don't really remember, but I don't think I was in it. But after that, I remember I checked out and I went back to the motel, and I'm sitting on, and I got a 2-bed motel. 2-bed motel, which basically felt really insulting. Hey, Sierra just died. The universe is going to give you a 2-bedroom hotel to cry in it, basically. So after that, I went to Denny's, got a quick breakfast, and something came to my mind, like, why don't I talk to her parents and see what she was like? Yeah, that'd be a great idea. No. And so I got to Denver, and I went back to the same security guard guy who lets the door open. He said, yeah, Sierra's still here. Her parents live here. You want to go see her? And I went upstairs. I remember her room number, and it was the same room number that she told me in the security guard. I think it was 209 or something like that, or 909. I get up there, and I remember the times we made out in the elevator and had our adventures. And it just seems so, I don't know, soul-sucking being in that elevator. And I get in there and I'm knocking 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 for literally 20 minutes, which felt like an hour. And I heard Spanish and people talking behind the door, so I knew someone was there, but I just kept knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. And you could already see how annoying that's getting, but oddly enough, nobody answered. In about 18 minutes of knocking, someone at the very end of the picture that you see to your left answered and said, who's making that knocking sound? I said, it was me. This person's not answering. And the person was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know about this till a few years later, but apparently there's a state law in Colorado that if you're becoming a nuisance knocking at somebody's door, they can legally pull out a shotgun and shoot you or ask you to leave, which I was surprised that didn't happen either. Like, there was no response, and there was no response as in, get the fuck out of here, you're bothering us. Like, nothing. Like, even if somebody's becoming a nuisance knocking on the door for a long time, you would at least get an answer saying, go away, or a police officer would show up, but none of that happened. So after that, I talked to the security guy, got a piece of paper, wrote my name and number saying I came back from San Francisco to see her, and wrote my number on it again. And this was when shit got weird and unpredictable really fast. So as I'm walking down, I'm looking around me. I'm kind of like, what am I getting myself into kind of feeling. And about 5 minutes of walking to my car, I was about to go out and grab my guitar and play for a bit. I get a phone call from one of my grandparents, and they never call me unless it's a legit reason. And so I answered, and it wasn't a, hello, hi, how's Denver and Colorado? It was, what the hell are you still doing there? And I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you know I'm in Denver? What are you still doing there? And I look back at that number I left on the door, and I kind of wonder if that had any relations to what's happening. And so it was basically saying, why would you want to talk to her about her parents about the dead daughter that's been dead for years? What were you thinking when you did that? And she's right. She's right. and was going on saying like, how would you feel if someone talked about a deceased member from all those years ago? Wouldn't it make you feel disappointed and all that stuff? Isn't that kind of disgraceful? And I mean, she's right, I will admit, but this is just what happened. And then in the end, it was saying if they really want to talk to you, they will, and basically saying, great, now you got your answer, now get your ass back to San Diego, is basically what she said. And it wasn't a demand, it was an order kind of feeling. And even then, that never happens either. And so I thought of that. I put the phone number on the door, and I get a phone call within 5 minutes. And I thought that was weird, but I didn't think much of it. I was like, whatever, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and play. You know, I'm like, my playing was just like that, really shitty and really unpredictable, and I couldn't stay focused because I was just, something in the back of my head was just like, get your ass to San Diego, like now. And as I'm looking at the mountains in downtown Denver, I look behind the Rocky Mountain. I feel like behind that I'm already seeing San Diego. And so something urged me to get out of there faster, as something unpredictable or sinister or worse is going to happen. So it was kind of a situation where it was get in your car and drive the fuck out of there. And so the moment I got to Golden, the top of the mountain, I was able to leave it all behind and keep driving. It felt like this dark black portal was like coming around chasing me. And as I'm taking pictures of Colorado, it had such an amazing scenery, going up the high mountains, seeing all the mountains around it touching the clouds, going down the mountain on curves with all the lakes around it, and all of these amazing scenic views of the whole area. And after I got out of Colorado, I went back to the rest stop that I originally stopped at. And as the sun's coming up, I am just like, whatever that was, I was glad I got out of there. And so after the long road trip in the desert, again, it gave me time to think about everything and what was going on. And so after that, I get to San Diego, and there was some welcoming signals when I got back there. And that was where this one song came from. As I'm in San Diego, I'm seeing the ocean views and the palm trees, and I feel like I'm back at home. And then I see a parking lot, and I park in there, the sign saying, "So glad you're here." And it just felt like, hey, it's welcoming back to San Diego. And this is a strange event that I experienced. So a couple days after that, I was looking at the apartment, which was my first one I got later on. I was doing some paperwork. And in the middle of the paperwork, I was walking around Mission Beach waiting for the landlord to get back to me on the paperwork. So I was just enjoying my time, walking on Mission Beach, enjoying the coast and the sunset and the weather, you know, all that stuff. And I'm in the middle of the sidewalk, and I see this chick who looked just like Sierra. And she was only in high heels, shorts, and a t-shirt, not the red dress. And I was like, it's San Diego, lots of Mexicans. It can't be. So I didn't think much of it. And as I'm walking, normally if someone's behind you walking in heels, you can hear the clunking, right? In this case, I'm looking right behind me. She's already right there. And I was like, whoa, holy shit. And then she's getting closer. And it literally had the same energy and vibe as her. But I couldn't put my finger onto it. It was just all happening so fast. And I was in shock. It's kind of like a sleep paralysis where you see everything's happening, but you can't talk, scream, or do anything but except open your eyes and be in shock kind of feeling was what was going on. She was like, I need a ride home. Can you help me? I'm too intoxicated. And I thought this was just a normal person in San Diego, but it didn't feel that way. And I'm looking at the heels. I'm like, how did I not hear those heels walking here? And overall, and I'm just like, I'm trying to speak. And I'm like, are you sick? I couldn't speak. I couldn't talk. Something about that incident, it was just, I couldn't speak, couldn't do anything. I felt powerless. And as soon as she got in the car took off. And normally if you look away, you can see them still at the stoplight and turning. But in this case, I look away, they're already gone. And so I come back and sleep in my car. And I was just kind of like, was that? Nah. I didn't really think much of it. And to this day, I still haven't. So it was the day before I got my apartment. I was playing guitar in downtown San Diego, right outside of the busy areas. And there were these two homeless people annoying the living shit out of me. They were literally on acid, I swear to God. And they were just bothering the living shit out of me. Just overall getting so close to me, violating my space, being so close to my bubble, and just overall chit-chat and driving away my customers who give me money in my case. And so I was like, I need these people to get the fuck out of here. And so I would find tactics to get rid of them, like just zoning out playing. But that didn't work. And so I met one of my best friends the same day after I was praying for him to get out of here, which was Seabass. God, I miss him. I don't know what happened to him, but he was like my bro. Like, we were like 2 fingers in a glove. I met him and he was like, yo, man, you all right? And I was like, no, man, these people keep bothering me. Help me get them the fuck out of here. And so we were both jamming and rapping, making music together. And we just connected like that. And so as him and I were talking and chilling, I remember we were talking about the incident that I had in Colorado, which was the phone signal. In the middle of the day I was there, my phone signal would go like 4, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. Kind of like a mixed number, but with the LTE flashing. And I remember I decided to put that into a song, and it was originally in distortion. This is the Colorado song, and this was how it was born. And it sounded like Iron Maiden a little bit, but I was playing that mainly to get those 2 homeless people to leave me the hell alone. And so after Seabass went back to his place and I was playing my own thing, we were texting and texting afterwards. And so him and I were talking and I was like, okay, so how would that song sound if I put it into clean mode, but with the same pattern that I always play? Colorado song was born. I was down the street right towards where I parked my car in San Diego, and I was playing what I could while I still remember it, which is this part right here. after that, it was born. I just kept remastering it, remaking it, just like the San Diego song. It was a big project. There were so many songs on top of songs and covers about it. When I released it publicly on Facebook, it was my most popular song of all time. Like back in 2019 and early 2020, every time I released the Colorado song publicly, it was my most popular. Like it was heard from like over 50 countries around the world. It went viral. And even to this day, when I post it sometimes, it's still very popular. And it all started from when I found out Sarah died and we were having adventures together, and this song just kind of like makes it sound like I'm back in time to that day. Downtown San Diego, I had $10 bill cash in 5 seconds the minute I played it. There was a lot of compliments saying that it sounds like Angels and Airwaves, and it's just my old school playing. And it kind of has a Wild West sound where they're at the bar and or driving around the Wild West with horses hanging at the high altitudes. Faster, it's a whole different thing. It's like giddy up. Like no time, giddy up. It's like there's no time, get on, giddy up. Kind of like falling off the wagon. Hop on, no time to explain. You hop off, you get back on. There's other terms of it, but in this case, it's giddy up. You learn to sink or swim. It's got such an iconic sound to it. Some say it sounds like 8-bit, but the song was really about her, and I want her to be like remembered and honored. And there was just so many remakes on top of remakes of it. But going on to the apartment in San Diego, after I got it, I was kind of normal a little bit, but I got lazy over time because of how emotionally disabled I was. As I was in Mission Beach celebrating that I paid my rent on time, that's when it hits you. It's game over after that. You don't want to get up, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to travel, you don't want to go to the coast. You're basically just sitting there in your apartment until deliveries come, and even then you go what's closest to you, and you're just lazy and you're picky, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to make guitar clips. It was a real mess, and telling the story has been really burning me out, and I just want to get on with this and just finish the video and get straight to it so I can make the video shorter and more watchable. So yeah, in San Diego, the whole time I was there, I was lazy, didn't want to do anything, felt like my colors and everything about me just faded away. I would not get up unless I had an order. I had times where I was getting penalties with Instacart, and I had to go back to my uncle up north in Petaluma and do some deliveries there for a few weeks in San Francisco during a wildfire. Then I came back home after that, and then I remember throughout the time, California was starting to resemble third world country. After the military incident, the first big movement in San Diego, that's when things got worse. I talked about that in my San Diego story, so go ahead and check that one out. It's in the description. And I remember after my emotions were just taken out of me, I was always afraid every morning and afraid every night, didn't want to do anything, barely walked around town here and there. It took a few months for everything to start moving forward. Even though everything going on, I was still fairly moving forward. I was at my vacation beach a few times, up and down my family. When I met the mentor in Los Angeles, you can tell in the look in my eyes that I was not all that there. I was stoned, scared, and just out of it, and kind of looking like I was trying to hide something. And that was just because I was just emotionally defeated. Throughout the whole documentary, you can just tell that I'm not all that there and have no confidence or anything. I actually have a video about that on Facebook. If you want me to post on YouTube, drop in a comment. But anyway, I want to get on with the video. So it was during the pandemic of 2020. I remember at the beginning of that pandemic, everything was switching, everything was going weird, and everything was going AWire. After that, I got out of San Diego March 17, 2020. The night before that, me and Seabass were hanging out all night, jamming a guitar, playing some music, having peaceless hours, all that stuff. We were always talking about Sarah a few times here and there, all the time we were there. And actually, I found out she was living in the apartment with me, and I didn't even know about it, but I do remember every morning I woke up from that, sleep on the floor. I felt like I got fucked really hard every morning. After that, nothing much really went on. There was no photos or videos or any cool activity. I didn't get the idea of my California music video until February 2020 when rent was due in January. The songs were created in January, and I got the idea for the videos after rent was paid. I was headed to San Francisco, did the video, then COVID happened, and now we are back to my second apartment. So this is where the paranormal activity begun. So at the apartment, nothing much went on, but I kept dreaming about San Diego quite a lot and just would not like stop thinking about it. And I always thought it was because I was depressed because of the lockdowns and quarantine. And however, I felt like I was still in San Diego, like a part of me was, and it felt like I was lost. Like I still remember like nights of being on Pacific Highway looking down and around me as if I was back in Pacific Highway, which is where the San Diego song was written, with all the jet swoopings and what have you. I always felt like I was still in San Diego with the night drives on the ocean towards the mountain with the curvy lanes and the palm trees and all the lights and the Mexican buildings and stuff like that. I still have dreams about that even to this day. Overall, like every time I wake up, it's black and white, kind of like it was in the apartment in San Diego. So I remember I met this chick, I think the first week I got the apartment, and when we instantly clicked, I remember she was in the paranormal activity too. And here's the stories that are included in this topic, and it still kind of gives me the chills today. I remember it was sometime in the beginning of summer 2020 when I was at my apartment. She would do a video call or a FaceTime with me as we both had iPhones, and in the middle of the FaceTime chat, she randomly told me there's a person named Skinwalker who looked like the Grim Reaper when she do a sketch of it. He's like, he's right here, and when she said like, oops, he's right here, and I didn't see anything behind the screen, it was such a paranormal as fuck moment. She even drew a clip of what it looked like and that the eyes were staring at me and stuff like that. And I couldn't see a damn thing, but she did and I didn't. And that's when shit got weird. Another FaceTime incident we had in the middle of the night, I remember she would say to me, do you know anybody who is looking for you or anything that you loved? And I was like, Sierra. And when she told the Skinwalker, the Sierra chick, he was able to summon her and bring her over here and like, boom, the speed of light. And then she would go on to say, yeah, she's right here sitting next to me, chit-chatting, still in the red dress I was talking about, but she had like holes and punctures all around her like you'll see in the sketch. So after that, I remember shit was just getting too weird, and then she said, Sarah was trying to talk and communicate, so it was like a three-way communication, couldn't see or hear, and she was like basically the translator. She would say to me, she said she was looking for you, she was wondering where the hell you've been, and then she was talking about how I left California, and I was like, yeah, I was out of there in a hurry. Like within 2 days of coming back to San Diego, I was already gone after the third because it was just so fast. Once the lease was over, I had no hesitation leaving whatsoever. And as she was talking on the incident, she said she loved my apartment because it reminded her of her hometown, which is actually the reason I like the apartment too. It reminded me of Colorado, but then it reminded me too much of Sierra, which is why I had to get out of there, and that was the paradox. So there's that, and I remember there was another FaceTime chat sometime between 2 and 3 a.m., and this is when shit was getting weird. I remember in the middle of the night she was in the bed saying that Sarah wants to talk to me and communicate, and literally the possession was where, you know how like The Exorcist, they like hover above the bed, and they're basically mummies? It was literally that, and then I was basically talking to Sierra on a two-way communication. And it was like we never left, and I still remember every second of what she said to me, but to sum it all up, she said that she would have never thought any less of me after all the degrading work I was doing in San Diego, not making money and about to collapse and sleeping on the floor. And then she would go on to say that she was in the apartment the whole time, always hovering around, sleeping on the floor and all that stuff. And then she said she didn't like seeing me struggle and all that stuff. I mean, it was San Diego. I had to stay confident somehow. And after all that, I remember she said that little bit of time in my entire life cycle was some of the best I've ever experienced and had. And she said that when she saw that I drove all the way from San Francisco to Denver to see her, the moment I walk in the security area I was talking about earlier, she said she was jumping full of excitement and joy that I actually came all the way to see her. And when she found out about me here in the news, she said that she was just as devastated as I was. Like when I found out she died, I did a little too. It took years to get over it. So after that, I remember after she was done doing the possession thing, the other girl wakes up and is like, "What just happened?" And I told her what happened and all that stuff. And I remember I was telling a buddy in Maine who also does paranormal activities, and I was telling the situations like, "Sounds like you got a ghost girl, wild adventures, right?" And I remember he was asking me questions like, "Do you feel like you're getting fucked in your sleep and wake up?" And I was like, "Almost every morning." He's like, "Ding dong." And so after a few days or a few weeks or something like that, I can't remember which, but there was all these drawings that she made of a sketch, and one was this one, which was her, and it really blew my mind. I was like, no way in fuck, that does look like her a little bit, minus the holes in her underarm. I must have not paid attention because she said they were there. Just looking at this is nostalgia to me, and it's all just paranormal and sketchy shit. I do remember actually showed Sarah the Colorado song when she was possessed, and she said she loved it and that it was a fascinating song to hear about. So she's listened to it, and I remember she was in the apartment the whole time, but didn't want to show herself because she would have scared me. At that time, she probably would have. I probably would have shit my pants. That's not a lie. So after that, didn't really see or hear much from her, but she was living in the apartment again. We kind of lost signal and touch after my third apartment in Miami because of the demonic entity. But there's another video that I can talk about with that later, as I already talked about Miami and the demonic entity. But I didn't see her again for a few years after that, back in 2022, when I did the videos of the documentaries going all the way back to see her. After 2022 or so, I've not really heard or seen her much after that. Even the translator would say that it's time to move on from her kind of stuff, but other than that, I've not seen or heard anything, no presence. The last time we've heard anything was mid 2022, not long before I went to the East Coast. I remember she was just kind of fading away in her eyes in translation, like she's moved on or something like that. It's been about 2.5 years, soon to go on 3, since we've really last heard. So that's the documentary, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and this will be a book someday. Peace out.